for having me. I'm Natalie Mackey. I'm the CEO of Glow Concept, which is the parent company of Winky Lux. For those of you who don't know, Winky Lux is a joyful brand of color cosmetics. And we are known in the industry, in the beauty industry, for our really rapid fire supply chain, which means that we make products really quickly. However, we're known to our customers as the happiest brand on the internet, the happiest beauty brand. So today I'll kind of walk you through a little bit of the Winky Lux journey and how we've used data to really shape our customer experience. And again, thank you for having me, because this is truly my favorite thing to talk about, the Winky Lux customer. She's really, really fun. She's squarely a Gen Z customer, so get to really hit some of those hot topics today. So a little bit about the history of Winky Lux. We were, for those of you, I know I talk about this story constantly, but for those of you who've never heard it, forgive me if you've heard it a million times. We were born out of a 2015 focus group. So we were actually building, my business partner and I were building a tech platform for curation, and we ended up interviewing about 200 women between 16 and 29 who we thought would be users of this to really work out the UX bugs and understand what they wanted. And our biggest learning was that they didn't care about our product. So we scrapped it. And during that time, though, we had this crazy unintended learning, which was that our customer truly wanted or felt kind of cruddy about the products that she was able to afford, because she's still shopping. The vast majority of her makeup bag is still being purchased at a mass price point. So we like to think of ourselves as consumer insights OGs. We knew that this customer wanted more trends, a little bit faster and more transparently, so particularly YouTube trends. And she craved these authentic connections with brands. She really wanted to see what was behind the scenes. And that is a bigger macro trend that I'm sure a lot of people will touch on today about Gen Z and really wanting authentic connections in general and connections with each other. So we began with this mission statement to create joy. And this was a huge mission statement for a beauty brand. It's really we had this very lofty ideal of how we could make things, we could really be this bright spot in her day. And it was very timely. There was a huge movement towards sort of minimalism at the time in the market, and this is probably the most extra brand you could possibly work on. And we were pre-Marie Kondo. I just want to throw that out there. Although we love her, we think she's great. But we really, we were really focused on joy from the very beginning. And we knew that that's when we started to survey our customers. This was one of the quotes that we got back. And we thought it really epitomized the brand. And that became the purpose filter for all of the products that we created and the content and the experiences. So it's a slumber party and a brand, the idea that it's not just about happiness, but it's also about connection with a community. So we started to scale really quickly. And what was interesting about the scaling thing was it's great that we have all these amazing new customers, but what was as interesting was who that customer was. So not surprisingly, she was the 16 to 29-year-old that we had interviewed in the very beginning. So very squarely in that millennial or that young millennial Gen Z world. And she's pretty much just buying makeup on iPhones. That's really what we do for a living, is we sell makeup on iPhones. It's 82% mobile, and the vast majority of it is Safari. So this really started to color some of the next steps in the company. But we knew as we were starting to scale, we were kind of losing some of those connections, those really deep, authentic connections. It was harder and harder for us to stay connected to each and every customer and to make her feel like a friend. And if the slumber party in a brand is part of our purpose filter, how do we do that? And we approached it from a very data-centric mentality of, we're going to build a model. I came from the finance world. My business partner came from consumer electronics. We were both kind of a little bit of a data nerds, so we said, we're going to build this out, so that it looks like a model. The first thing that we this was part of how we've always, I mean, Corey touched on this in a really great way. We've always really, having the customer insights really color the product development is a breaking point in a lot of companies. We were super lucky that was part of our DNA from the very beginning. So we started to live stream all of our development processes and let the customer into that behind the scenes methodology of how or why we were going to create a new product, and let her talk up to us in real time. One of the great unintended benefits of having the customers go behind the scenes and really watch how the product's made is they feel so invested. First of all, you have less expensive customer acquisition, which I'm sure everyone's going to want to talk about today, the future of acquisition. But more importantly, they actually they feel emotionally connected to the company, and everybody, I mean, no company that I know in D2C products has never had a screw up. So when we've had screw ups, we've had a little army of customers who come to our defense. So in a world where outrage is really popular on social media, you need an army of advocates who are gonna say, hey guys, they're working really hard. Hey, I know that product broke, but they're really good at customer service, they'll get back to you. So what could possibly be more powerful than making sure that she tells her friends and her peers, I really appreciate this company, and I was part of that process. I will not, I'll spare you the whole product development process. The data was starting to back up that everything we brought the customer into was much more likely to become a bestseller. And this is sort of like, well, no shit, sorry, I can't curse. But it's really great to back this up with data. It's really helpful to give this to our product development team. And so we knew that they were coming in for this. We knew that this was good customer acquisition. But what we were really trying to understand is beauty is a super promiscuous category. The customer jumps from brand to brand to brand. No woman in this entire room has one bag full of one brand. Everybody's got a million brands in their beauty bag. How do we keep that customer coming back over and over again? And so we really started to focus on retention, but make it fashion. So I feel like the girls are laughing. The guys are like, what are you talking? So we knew that to your left side, these are the really, really high, inexpensive acquisition products, the products we can make money on first purchase, that we can bring her in. She is buying it off of a paid social ad. It's easy, but how are we going to boomerang her back? So we started to really dive into what made her come back. First of all, customer service was a huge one, but also retention and beauty. Again, for I think for like really beauty junkies, they're going to say this is very intuitive, but I think it's not always that intuitive to, particularly to performance teams. So really 70% of our retention is weighted towards product. So we need to have these products that are highly sticky, and we need to figure out how to bring that girl back into it. So using that data to then really map out our product development plan, making sure that it really includes these highly addictive products, was a super important part of how we sort of got to Winky 2.0. There was also a huge movement. Thanks, Castora, for helping us personalize our email flows. One of the things that is another hot topic right now is how much Gen Z customer not just wants, but sort of demands a super personalized experience with her products. So she wants to have this, she wants to be served up exactly what she needs when she needs it. And she actually becomes really annoyed and frustrated when she's getting stuff that's irrelevant to her. So allowing us to really understand age demographics, where, places in the country where, she might be more interested in a cooling gel in the summer versus a more moisturizing cold weather skincare product has been really helpful. The other thing that we've really started to learn, everyone here, I'm sure all the performance D2C brands here are truly likely addicted to the acquisition model of paid social. So what we were really learning too was that our customers who were coming through these paid social channels were actually some of our least value customers. So we knew that they just weren't getting that same connection with, they weren't getting that same connection with the brand. So a great example is this summer I was actually at the beach. A friend of mine asked me where I got my bathing suit, and my first response was Instagram. I had no idea what the brand was. I'd seen it on a picture. I'd clicked through. I bought it. And that sounds like, oh, that's a win for that company, but it really isn't, in the sense that they paid a lot of money to acquire me, but they didn't actually build an emotional connection with me. They didn't make me remember why I cared about that brand or why I cared about the suit. It was really just a very transactional, product-based decision, not an emotional decision. Beauty is a very emotional category, so we have to keep this in mind quite a bit. So what we were finding is, and this has helped shape our performance spend, is really some of these frontier channels were much higher value customers, much more engaged customers. Certainly, I can't say that YouTube's a frontier channel, but it certainly is a place where beauty acquisition has been really, you know, it may not be quite the first purchase, low CAC that we get from paid or from Instagram, but it's certainly a longer term relationship. So now that we were armed with this, does everyone know this quote? Jennifer and I were just we were just sitting over there realizing that Mean Girls is 16 years old. So if you were feeling, I was like, what is happening? So now we were armed with this data around who the customer was, also what was going to keep her coming back, and also where she was. We knew that. Surprisingly, we were over-indexing in the South, in the middle of the country. We were really had a great set in a college-age girl, and then we also knew what products were really bringing her into an emotional relationship with the brand. So we were able to use all that data to kind of construct this idea for an experience store. We knew that Winky Lux would have to have brick and mortar stores. Beauty is not like fashion in the sense that the friction is not as bad in the buying experience. So where fashion, there's sizing issues and there's convenience issues. With beauty, it's actually can be quite a pleasurable experience to shop in person. In fact, some people find it very cathartic. So it's the reason that beauty has kind of stayed at like that 10% of the market in digital versus a fashion world where it's been totally turned on its head by e-com. So we were really interested in how we were going to connect with this customer. We're also sort of obsessed with acquisition costs, as I'm sure everybody is here. So we knew that we'd have to connect with her in a way that was more scalable and that we would have more control over the medium. So this is a little vignette of our retail stores. Through these brick and mortar retail stores, which drive about 1 million social media views per month per store, we decided to really celebrate all of those high CLV products to really bring her into the story, give her a chance to really feel like she's part of the brand. And also, I have no special insight into the Instagram algorithm. If anybody does, please come find me afterwards so that we can talk. But one thing I do know is every time I see too many ads, the algorithm is likely going to change because the first and foremost purpose of that medium is for them to keep the customer. We're also seeing significantly diminishing returns from paid influencer posts. So and that's been pretty steady. Those ROASs have been diminishing over the past 2 years, and I'm sure people have been seeing this as well. So it's no longer, certainly not a bad media channel, but it's really that. It's just a media channel. So certainly part of a pie, but not a hack. But what was a hack was that people still really want to talk to their friends. They're still getting, particularly Gen Z, really prioritizes recommendations from peers. So how do we get the customer to be the influencer? Instagram is never going to suppress people's organic content, the average person's organic content. Not the influencer with 1 million followers, but the average person who has 300 followers, like me, what's up? Insta famous. So they're not going to suppress my content because it's mostly authentic connections with friends and colleagues. So we knew that we could empower our customer to be the influencer, and in that situation, we would have to build spaces that celebrate the product, tell stories, but also create an amazing experience for her to actually share the product. And that was kind of the beginning of how we began to use all of this data to really design a new set of KPIs for brick and mortar retail. So these are just pictures from our store's best time ever. So we updated these KPIs, and we even built them into some of our comp structure with our store managers, and the way that we designed our selling ceremonies, the way that we designed our marketing initiatives. So, and we were also armed with some focus group studies, and what we found was that our customer wanted, number one, inspiration. Show me something I've never seen before. I've seen a lot. I'm 21, not really, but if I was 21, I've seen things. So I need something that's really, really inspiring, different, unique, special. The second major metric, or the second major solve was we needed a place for our customers to come and meet each other or to do things with their friends. Again, we're building this very sort of delicate emotional relationship with the customer. We know that a Gen Z consumer consumes 3.5 hours a day of content on a smartphone. They, the way that things are delivered now is quite screamy. It's very outrage, heightened levels of anxiety, really short attention spans. In fact, they have an attention span that's scientifically a half a second less than a goldfish. So a goldfish has a 3-second attention span. A 19-year-old has a 2.5-second attention span. So, so we knew that we really had to, this was a different type of consumer than we'd seen before as marketers. So we knew that there was this, these anxiety levels went up and this feeling of, really wanting to connect. There's also sort of a sad statistic, which is that a Gen Z consumer has a harder time making eye contact, which was really kind of tragic. So we knew that viscerally, we all have a human need to connect with each other and a need to play and relax and have fun. So we wanted to build these spaces as places for people to come with their friends and also to meet new friends, to really facilitate that. So we needed to drive UGC, number one KPI. So our store managers bonused and measured on how many social media views are happening in their store at one time. That gives them a chance not only to make sure, who has ever gone to a really fun place and you're with your significant other, your best friend, and you grab someone, you're like, would you guys mind taking a picture of me? And they take one picture, and you're like, this is hard, like, it's a cell phone. You can take 100 pictures, like, really quick. You just took the one picture, my eyes were closed. So making sure that the team, even those little things of making sure the team, can use all cell phones, can take really great shots, takes at least 5 or 6 shots every time someone's asking them to. Those little things really add up to a really great, seamless customer experience. But also making sure that our teams who are influential within their own markets are inviting their most influential or local influencers. So, for instance, a famous Instagram dog. Really, not something our PR team is reaching out to, but a really, really interesting little boost. This was sorry for this blurry picture, but this is Color Me Courtney. She's a really great, just adorable influencer. She was actually in the HP ad. This got about 500,000 watches, and we did not pay for it. So these are really great kind of hacks for scaling up your organic community. We knew we had to drive adoption into those CLV products. Again, 70% of our retention is going to be based on what product they're buying. So we have to know that, and again, all beauty consumers will know this pretty innately. Anything you do in skincare and in complexion and foundation, which is truly the crack of the beauty world, that's the stuff that you really will never be without. You really do want to come and touch and feel it. And it needs to, those stories need to be front and center when you walk into the store. And then our favorite, capturing customer data. Lots and lots of customer data. In fact, in 3 different points of the store are we capturing different data from the customers and giving them a really beneficial transaction. It can't just be like, give us your email address. It's got to be, we have some special access events, come and meet so-and-so. We're gonna do a full master class, which is a huge thing right now in the beauty world. So sign up here and we'll make sure and call you. And then I think the most important thing for our long-term growth is to foster this community. So we know that beauty is a very talkable category. We know that she's gonna have to tell her friends about it if it's gonna work. So making sure that we have spaces and that all of our content is really quite shareable, and we're really getting a chance to build that emotional connection, not just with her, but with her peers who are also fans of the brand. So the next kind of Winky 2.0 is that we will kind of lean in 2020. We have some really big goals, and we'll kind of continue to prioritize the intersection of data and emotion, which is where we see all of the CLV. We will increase our retail footprint, so more Winky Lux stores. One's coming to Ludlow, what's up? Come and see us. We're gonna incorporate more, really process out more and more direct customer feedback into the product development process. We'll double down on those frontier channels. I think if you're not doing TikTok, you're probably definitely gonna miss out. I was in line at Starbucks yesterday, and there were 2 14-year-old girls who watched TikTok for the entire line. They were there the entire line just watching TikTok, so it's definitely on the rise. We'll continue to really focus on driving those long-term relationships through great product, but also experience, and we'll continue to invest in joy. So thank you very much for having me.